Whatever do you mean? I tell you what, this has been... Say, a rubber what? A rubber dinghy. She says a rubber dinghy. I want to ask you all, I can't see you because of these lights, so I want to ask you a series of questions, if that's okay. Who wants to see our borders secured? Okay. Who wants to see our children not being taught this trans nonsense in school? Who wants to see illegal migrants deported every single day? Who wants to see criminals locked up and put away in our prisons? Well, congratulations, you've passed the test. You're far-right fascist bigots, every single one of you. I'll tell you what, I'm going to apologise first, just a serious note, I need to apologise before we start. I'm going to apologise for the very poor raffle prizes that I saw when I first walked in. And I'm pretty sure there's a mobility scooter. So if you win that, then I'm sorry. It's a mobility scooter. But it's lovely to be up. I think the last time I was in Wakefield was during the miners' strike, actually. In 1983 or 84. My dad was a striking miner. And we came up to the, I think they had like a May Day event or something like miners sort of march or something like that. It was very, very good actually. I'd be about 16 at the time, I think. and fast forward 41 years and I'm back here as a Member of Parliament for Ashfield, but also as a Member of Parliament for Reform UK, which is next to now. It's quite important that you know my journey, my story. Some of you have probably heard it before. I'm going to tell it again because I think it's really, really relevant in a place like this, a proper traditional working class area where DNA is actually inside every single body in this room. So I was brought up in Ashfield, and many of you will see me always comment about Ashfield, whether it's a conference on TV or whenever, or in Parliament. I will always say that Ashfield is the capital of common sense. Well, I'm bound to say that, but I'll give myself wrong there. But I tell you what, Wakefield is running a close second tonight, but there has been some problems when I've been having photos taken. All I can hear is the wife saying to the husbands, "Is it the right way round?" What does that mean? It's like a different language, isn't it? Did you go to school up here? Proper language. Great proper language. I don't know what she's saying, just use sign language. Oh what, Paul Dykes? That's 35 years ago. Anyway. So I grew up in the 1970s in Ashfield, and we grew up in a mining village called Huthway, where my mate there, Terry, is somewhere knocking about. And there was about 3,000 people in our village, and I've got to say, in our class at school, probably everybody's dad worked down the pit, and everybody's mum worked in a local factory. That's just how it was. And we was brought up on a strict political diet of Tony Benn, Arthur Scargill, and Dennis Skinner. So obviously Dennis Skinner was next door in Bolsover, and Tony Benn was in Chesterfield, which is like 10 miles away from me, and obviously Arthur Scargill was the leader of the National Union of Mine Workers, which was the union which most of us was in when we first started working down the pit. And we used to listen to these people, and we thought these people in a place like Ashfield, which is not dissimilar to this, these people were the answer to all our problems. We hated the Tories with a passion, we hated Maggie Thatcher, we hated everybody. And I remember, I think it's important to tell you this, that as a child, a bit like Terry, my mate who's here somewhere, and we would wake up every morning as school children, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, we would wake up, to the sound of my dad's alarm clock. Now, I was having funny dreams at this age. I wanted to be like a footballer or a airline pilot, or I wanted to be Elvis. That's what I wanted to be. That's what I wanted to be. And but 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, my dad's alarm clock would go off. I'd get up and go downstairs and make a fire. A coal fire, yeah, make a fire. It rake ashes out, but we just like gone, you know what I'm talking about. And then he'd go to the pit, which was literally 100 yards away from our house. And I used to look through my bedroom window at my dad going to the pit, and he'd be walking down the street with some other blokes who would meet up with. And you could hear them chatting, you could hear them coughing and spitting and spluttering their guts up, and they'd go to the pit and do a shift. And you know what? Just a couple of hours later, after my dad went down the pit, or got up to go to the pit, my mum would get up and she'd wake me and my sisters up, and they'd get up and we'd go to school. My mum would go to the factory, and just a few years later, my dad was getting up to his alarm clock, and he was knocking on my door. He's going, "Come on, lad, we're going to work." So I'd go and do a shift down the pit with my dad, and my sisters would get up 2 hours later, and they'd go to the factory with my mother and do a shift there. And that was a proper community, a proper working class community. It was. And just after the strike, it was quite divided in some of the communities in the area. We were still hated the Tories with a passion. It was a bit difficult for me going into the pits just after the miners' strike, because my dad had been a striking miner in a pit where most of the men worked. And I was quite angry at that time with people like Margaret Thatcher. I blamed her for pretty much everything. But I sort of forgave her about 30 years later. Not for everything, but I did forgive her for some stuff. And cover your ears up, darling. You might get a nosebleeder when you hear this. I'll tell you for why, and I'll tell you that a little bit later. But when I worked down the pit, what I realised was that the men that I worked with weren't some hard left, socialist, Marxist nutters that wanted to bring the government down. They were just decent, hard-working men who were a product of where they're born. We're all products of where we're born, aren't we? If you'd have been born in a place like this, or Ashfield, you'd have been a coal miner. If you'd been born in Sheffield, you'd have probably been a steel worker. If you'd have been born in Grimsby, you'd probably a fisherman, something like that. If you'd been born in sorry? Where's that Halifax? That's Canada, isn't it? Never been there, though. Actually, I've been twice already. But we're all products of where we're born, aren't we? It's just potluck where you're born. And like I say, I realised that the miners I worked with were just decent, hard-working men who did an incredibly difficult job. They did it for a couple of reasons, really. Yes, thank you. They did it. They did it to put food on the table. They needed to pay the rent or the mortgage, and all they expected from life was to have a decent school for the kids, a decent hospital. They wanted the police to do the job. They loved their queen and country. They were fiercely patriotic. They put the flag up without the council ripping it down. That is. And these people, don't get me wrong, we had our problems in our village. We had an idiot in every village in this country. I'll come to that later. Who said David Lammer? In trouble for that one. I might tell you later in private. But that was village life. That was village life in a traditional Labour working class area where Labour MPs had 25,000, 30,000 majorities. They were huge. And the reason it took me ages, it took me years to actually click on why they had such big majorities. And it's because at the time, and many men and women in this room will know this, that we had closed shop unions back in the 70s and 80s, where if you started an industry, whether it was pits or steel or the railway, or if you worked for the electric board or anything like that, you had to join the union before you actually did the first shift. You had to sign up your subscriptions, and it wasn't any old union you could join. It was a closed shop, so you had to join for the pits, National Union of Mine Workers, National Union of Steel Workers, National Union of Rail Workers, and so on. So your very first pay packet, you was paying a few quid a week to your union, and every union was affiliated to the Labour Party. So a few pence or 50 pence was taken out your subs and given to the Labour Party every week. So we all had a financial stake in the Labour Party. We all paid for the MPs for their training, for their union schools and stuff like that, which is why that when it comes to election time, when you went to the ballot box, you voted Labour. We were like sheep, weren't we? We were like useful idiots. But the tide is changing. It took me about 35, 40 years for the actual penny to drop. But when I left the pits, I went into something completely different. I became a single parent to two wonderful boys. I did that for many, many years. It was about 17 years, and that got me thinking a little bit. And then I went to work for Citizens Advice Bureau in Ashfield, where I would see poverty firsthand, proper poverty. You know, people that's stuck in the benefit trap, people that's not got jobs, people that's got rent arrears, people that's got benefit problems, just people that's down on the, really down on the luck. That's got no hope, no vision, nothing to pass on to the next generation. And that gets quite sad. And it got me feeling sort of sorry for these people, which we shouldn't do, I don't think. Sometimes but I couldn't help it. You felt sorry for these people. And I thought I was doing a great job. People would come in with rent arrears, with benefit problems. We'd sort the rent arrears out. We'd get the benefits reinstated, we'd get the benefits backdated. They go to tribunals with them to get the benefits sorted out. They go to court to stop the houses being possessed. And I used to think to myself, what a great job this is. You know, people would come in and think, right, it's great work we're doing. But then just a few years later, probably 10 years later, I was seeing the sons and daughters of these same people coming in with exactly the same problems. And I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, we've not solved anything here in the 10 years I've been here. All we've done is taken a set of problems from their mum and dad, if they had a mum and dad, it's normally just mum, and we passed them on to the children. And they've now got the same problems, whether it's debt, it's housing, it's benefits, stuck in, trapped in the benefit cycle. So what we're doing is passing one set of problems on to the next generation. That multiplies because they've all got kids, and it grows and grows and grows to a state where we've got now, where we've got a huge benefit bill in this country. I think it's £326 billion a year we spend on benefits. We've got over 1 million young people under 25 that's not at work. It's an absolute disgrace. And we've also got, one of the reasons for so many young people not being at work is so-called mental health that's going around. And I'm pretty sure that back in the day, when my mum and dad went to work all week, they had some mental health problems, they had some anxiety problems, they worried about stuff, they worried whether they could pay the rent or the mortgage, they worried about when they put the food on the table. And you know what they did when they was worried to cure their worries and to cure their problems? They got up in the morning and they went to bloody work. That's what they did. They went to work because that's the right thing to do. We should all go to work, we should all play our bit for our family, for our community, and for our country. We've all got a stake in this world that we live in, and we owe it to our children to go to work, to pay our taxes, to make sure that when we leave this planet, we leave it in a better state than when we arrived. And at the moment, I think we're failing at that. But have no fear, Reform UK are here. That's why I'm working at CAB. I get this sort of, I don't know, it's like a social conscience about helping people. I've gone from feeling sorry for people who's on the downers to thinking the answer is not to give people more benefits. The answer is not to make people bankrupt. The answer is not to feel sorry for people. The answer is through education, through training, through hard work, and stop the dingus. So no, there's still in this country great opportunities. If you want to make a success of yourself in this country, you can, through hard work and determination. It's got great opportunities. But that is being eroded, as you say. We've got a huge problem with illegal migration. But illegal migration, as bad as it is, I've been banging on about the boats since I've been in Parliament. And that was in 2019. And people were calling me a racist, they were calling me a bigot, they were calling me all sorts of nonsense. Well, they're all talking about it now, aren't they? Because every time a hotel opens up in someone's patch, oh, it's not suitable here. I tell you what, it's not suitable anywhere in this country. We should detain and deport these people. I'm going to admit, I was at one time a member of the Labour Party. Taxi for Anderson, please. Do you want this microphone?
How many more children, women, kids?
Yes, I'll come to that later. Where was it? Where was it? Anyway, I was in the Labour Party before I was rudely interrupted by this lady here. And I became a Labour councillor in the village where I'm from. And I love the job. I love the job of being a councillor, because I know there's a few council candidates in here tonight who's going to stand next year in Wakefield. And best of luck to you guys. And being a councillor is a great job, because you're a member of that community, you're elected by the people of that community. You can do real stuff. It might seem like petty stuff, like getting a litter bin fitted. You might get a bus shelter replaced, or a light change in a lamppost. But these are real changes you can make as a councillor in your local community. And it's during my time as a councillor, I used to go to the Labour group meetings at Ashfield Council, and this is when I found out they were bonkers. They were just mad. And I remember when Fidel Castro died, the chairman of the council wanted to open a book of condolence. These were memento members. What do you call them? Lunatics. Yeah, these were mad, and they hated me with a passion. And one particular day I went into well, I'll tell you what, I got in trouble. I got in trouble first. You might not believe that. We had a problem in my community with some travellers. Is there any travellers in tonight? There's one here. Anyway, we had some problems. Travellers rocked up on this beauty spot in my village. And they put the caravans there. They weren't many of them, and they made a complete mess of the area. And all my residents, my constituents, ringed up and said, "Oh, Councillor Anderson, we voted for you. Sort this out. This is your fault." I'm thinking, it's not my fault. But then you start thinking, well, actually, I'm their councillor. I'm accountable. I've got to try and help. So, I rung the Labour group leader up. I said, look, we've got this problem in Uthway, we've got these travellers here. When they've gone, can we clean the area up and put some barriers up to stop them coming back? That's the last thing we want is them to come back. And they said, no, you can't do that, because the travelling community are like an ethnic minority group, and they bring something to the community. Well, I'll tell you what, we've been taking plenty out of the community. Not only, they weren't flogging Lucky Heather and telling fortunes and eating hedgehogs and stuff like that. What they were doing is they were creating mayhem. They weren't proper gypsies. I know gypsies. I know proper gypsies, and they're good friends of mine. These weren't gypsies. These were people just lived in caravans who'd been evicted. They were being nuisances in my community. Anyway, they refused to. Anyway, they went. These travellers did, and. We went in, we put our overalls on, we cleaned all the mess up, lobbed all the bags onto lorries, we drove off. Within 10 minutes, they came back with the caravans and popped up again. Yeah, so my phone's going, my mum, my dad, my sisters, we're not voting for you next time. Get it sorted. I was like, okay. So I rings the council up again, and they says, no, we're not. They're welcome to come into these communities, they've got to live somewhere. So anyway, they stopped 2 weeks, they made they trashed the area again. And when they left this time, we cleaned up the area. But I got a plan. I borrowed a tractor off my mate, and I've been and got 2 big concrete blocks, as big as these, bigger than these tables. As soon as we cleaned it up, I got the concrete blocks and I dropped it at the entrance of the car park where the travellers have been staying. And within minutes, the chief exec was on the blower to me saying, "You've got to move them blocks." I said, "I'm not moving them." I says, "Funnily enough, I've been trying to get in touch with you for 2 weeks about this. You've ignored my call. The blocks are staying there until we get some concrete barriers up." Anyway, about 5 minutes later, yeah, 5 minutes later, the travellers come back with the vans and the caravans. They saw the concrete blocks. I just went. And they left. It went somewhere in Derbyshire, which is fair enough to me. And within a month to 6 weeks, the council put steel barriers up on the car park, and they never came back again. So anyway, I'm not done. When I dropped these concrete blocks off, I got a fine for fly tipping. It's true. I got a fine for fly tipping. Google it, it's in the paper. Yeah, these travellers have been there twice and just created a complete shit tip. They never got a fine. I'm the local councillor, Labour councillor, and the Labour council fined me for fly tipping. You can't make it up. Anyway, so they hated me from that day on. And the next meeting I went to, no, a couple of meetings after that actually. We sat there, it was about 40 hours in the Labour group meeting, and one of the momentum lot said to me, "Oi Anderson, have you ever read the works of Karl Marx?" I said, "No, I haven't, mate. I've not read anything." "You going to work?" "Okay, shall we say goodbye?" Bye! Have a nice shift. When is your work? Leeds.
Yeah, please.
Anyway, so they said, I said, "No, I've never read the works of Karl Marx." And he said, "Well, why don't you off then and join the Tory party?" Yeah, so, and everybody's laughing in the room and taking the piss and thinking. I said, "You know what, mate, that's not a bad idea." I got up and I walked out the room. And I did that, join the Tory party the next day, or that week. And then within a year, I was that man's Member of Parliament. That's how quick it happened. So, one thing about the Labour Party, they give great career advice. So. I'm not out of Parliament. I've never been to Parliament before. We got elected, let's be honest, 2019, in areas like Ashfield. We got elected on 3 things really: Corbyn. Everybody hated Corbyn. Brexit. And Boris. Everybody loved Boris. People wanted Brexit done in our areas, and people hated Corbyn. That we got elected, we got an 80% majority, got down there to Parliament. I'd never been before, which was sort of surreal and strange for me when I walked into the chamber for the first time. And realising you've got a job to do now. And I thought Boris was going to be great. I thought he was going to be superb for the country, but it didn't work out. We dropped straight into COVID. Boris was very pro net zero. He was very liberal on immigration. The votes kept coming. The borders remained open all the time. And then he got to a situation where last year, 18 months ago, probably a bit longer than that, February last year, I made some comments about Mayor Khan in London. Yeah. I made some comments about Mayor Khan, and basically I said that he'd given our capital city away to Islamists on a Wednesday night. And the Tory party rung me up, the chief whip rung me up, and he says, "Look, I've spoke to Rishi. You've got to apologise." I says, I know how this works. You go backwards and forwards at number 10. I'm not apologising. Don't bother. If you're going to ring me again, just suspend me and take the whip off me. And that's the deal. So he rung me back 10 minutes later. I've spoken to the Prime Minister. We're suspending the whip. I thought, thank God for that. I'm pissed and I thought, and he says, "We've not told anybody, so it'll not break till tomorrow." I put GB News on the radio. Leon listens at the whip. Anyway, so yeah, so I've been involved in a few controversial things, and during my time in the Tory party, I had some good times. I've got to be honest, I can't slag them off because I was voted the Conservative Backbencher of the Year in, I think it was 2021. I never thought that sort of prize existed, so I got a prize for being the best Tory MP. But the best prize I got was a year later. I got an award by the Daily Mirror. I got voted the worst man in Britain. And it was very difficult to win it that year because in second place was Prince Andrew. I demanded a recount. Yeah, just picked him. Prince Andrew. And I got the call about 6:30 in the morning from a journalist saying, "How do you feel being voted the worst man in Britain?" I said, "Well, it's not all my work, I'm extremely proud." I got a tear to my eye. I was very moved by it, and I just said, "Well, I want to thank my parents, I want to thank my teachers, my friends, and my office staff. It's a team effort." But the reason they gave me that was because of my stance on the England football side taking the knee. Listen, you should not be taking the knee. They also said I made some controversial comments. You know, it's not controversial. The truth. It's not controversial to be concerned about illegal migration. It's not tell you what, it's not controversial to be angry when some 6'5" drag queen goes into a classroom and teaches little children how to read. It's not controversial to want to see illegal migrants detained and deported. I don't want them in my country. And and it's not controversial to be proud of our history, our heritage, our culture, and our way of life. No, Great Britain. We are so proud. But anyway, during my time in the Tory party, I'll just tell you some funny stories and true stories. I was on the Home Affairs Select Committee, and we went to a trip in Uruguay. It was in Montevideo, and we was doing a report on the legalisation of drugs, cannabis, and stuff like that. And it was reshuffle day. It was February, 2 years ago, reshuffle day, and we were all in the minibus saying who's going to get a phone call, and obviously none of us was going to get a phone call, because we're just normal backbench MPs. But on the trip, we've got Labour MPs, some SMPs, and a Liberal. There was a Liberal on there. Anyway, we've been on this cannabis plantation. Got back in the minibus, and we sat there, and I'm just sat here on this seat, and in front of me is Diane Abbott. She's sat there, she's got this thing in her hand, what do you call it? Can we have a bit of respect, please? It was a colouring book. And a can of Fosters. Anyway, she sat there, and this Uruguayan chap gets on the minibus, and he gave us a box, and it was picture frames. There's 12 picture frames, and they'd all got cannabis leaves in the picture frames behind the glass, and it said, "Congratulations, you've been to the largest cannabis farm in the world. It's legal then." And we've all got these. Pride ourselves, and we're thinking, who can I give it to? And Adam Holloway, Tory MP, is a reform member now. He says, "Oh, we can't take these back. This is the drugs." Imagine 12 MPs getting caught at the airport. He says the only way you can take these back is to put them in a diplomatic bag, or find somebody daft enough to put them in the bags. I am. She turned around and says, "What, Lee?" I says, "Have you got a spare room in your suitcase?" She goes, "Yes, of course I have." She says, "We'll take some products back." She goes, "Yes, of course I will." And all the other MPs went, Diane is just winding you up. I said, "Bloody daft." Anyway, about 20 minutes after that, I got a phone call, and it was the Chief Whip, and he says, "The Prime Minister wants to make you Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party. Will you do it?" And I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I accepted it, Anyway, he thought it was a bit of red meat for the Red Bull. So I gets back to the UK, and they had me in because I'd just been offered a job at GB News. Anybody watch GB News? So I've just been offered this my own show with GB News, and they had me in. They said, "Well, I don't know about this. GB News. You can't really be deputy chairman and have your own TV show on GB News." I said, "How much does it pay being deputy chairman?" It says 10 grand a year. He says, "How much does the GB News show pay?" It says 100 grand a year. Anyway, they like that, and they let me do it. I'm still doing GB News now, which has been absolutely fantastic for people like you who can watch. And actually, I missed my show tonight, calling it. But the journey I've been on, when they took the whip off me, and there's all these rumours flying around about me joining Reform, and Nigel had been texting me, and they've been going, do it. It's very hard to resist, isn't it? And I went to see my parents. It was a Sunday, and I went to see my mum and dad. They're still rattling about, and my mum said to me, "If you go back in that Tory party, I'll never vote for you again." And you know what? Always listen to your mum. So I rung Richard up, I rung Nigel up, yeah, let's do it. We had a proper press conference, I think a week later. It's a worst kept secret in politics. And I'll tell you what, I was the first ever Reform UK Member of Parliament, and you can clap for that. Just a year later, when they called the election, I was 12 to 1 at the bookies. Like, 4th favourite to win my seat. But I went straight down to bookies. I knew I was going to win. You know, we was knocking on doors and reform, which gives me great hope. Because when they sit on these political panels on TV, and they're calling you all far-right racists and bigots and Nazis, and you're not, you're just decent, hard-working people. You just want your country back, don't you? And that's why I'm here, really. That's why I'm here tonight, because tomorrow night I'm in Hull. There's some Hull people here. Is it them there with it? You've got flat caps and whippets. That's round here. No, and when I sit on the green benches, next Wednesday actually, tune into PMQs, Prime Minister's Questions, I've actually been drawn out of the ballot. To ask you questions to the Prime Minister. You've probably seen me ask questions in the chamber before. You've probably seen me have a go at Lammy a few weeks ago. You probably saw me challenge the health minister about presenting as a llama. I think my most famous quote, which stuck with me in Parliament, is when I called the Chancellor Rachel from Accounts. I should get a painting on that actually. That was mine. But no, I tell you why I do this job now. Because I feel full of optimism. I go around every city. I go around. Taxi drivers just pick to you because they recognise me. But when I come to places like this, everyone is just like full of hope and love, and you can feel the patriotism. It's good, decent people, and the reason I go around the country doing these every week is because I want my country back, really. There's only 5 of them, 5 MPs. But for now, there's only 5 MPs. Will you stop putting your arm up like that? You get in trouble. There's no way to get branded. Just keep your arms down. I don't know when he's filming this. Anyway, the reason I do this is because you lot depend on us. depend on you lot to support to So next May we've got all our elections all over the country. We have. And we're going to storm it. We stormed it this year. In Ashfield this year we had county council elections. We won every single seat in my patch. And we got over 50%. But there's no secret to campaigning. You go out, you knock your doors, you stuff your envelopes, you deliver your leaflets, you support each other. Don't get into arguments with idiots, because you're going to win anyway. They'll frighten the death of you. Every single one of you, they'll frighten the death of you. I tell you, you are the people's army. You're on the march, and next May we're going to show again that we can win these battles in places like Wakefield. Are we going to win next year? Oh, the hairs on the back of my neck just now. I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you. Thanks for inviting me.